Listen to me. There are moments in your life when God whispers a warning into your spirit, a quiet but firm instruction that says, do not share this. You may not understand why at that moment, but the older you grow in faith, the more you realize God protects not just your blessings, but your silence. The voice of God is not always loud. Sometimes it comes as an inward restraint, a divine caution that tells you some things are not meant for human ears. Because not everyone who listens to you is for you. Not everyone who smiles at you can handle the weight of your destiny. Some things lose their power the moment they are exposed. Some blessings die in the mouth of overexposure, and that is why God said, never share these 5 things. My beloved, many people destroy what God gave them by talking too soon. They announce what God wanted to conceal. They open their hearts to those who only came to take notes, not to celebrate. Every time you speak too freely, you make your soul vulnerable. God works in silence. He shapes miracles in secret places. And when you open your mouth before the right time, you invite spiritual interference. This is why the wise guard their tongue like a treasure. Because what comes out of your mouth determines what remains in your life. There are seasons when silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is protection. It is obedience to the instruction of God that says, keep this between me and you. The first thing God says never to share is the depth of your spiritual life. Your walk with God is sacred. It is a covenant between you and Him. When you begin to expose it to others, when you tell people how you pray, when you fast, how often you spend time with God, you invite pride and comparison. You allow others to measure your relationship with God by human standards. But no one can truly understand what happens between your spirit and the Almighty. That is holy ground. It is not for display. God does not bless the showy heart. He blesses the hidden one. The one that prays when no one is watching. The one that weeps in silence. The one that worships not for applause, but out of pure reverence. Protect your intimacy with God. Let no one enter that room. It is your sacred chamber, the source of your power. Once you share it, you dilute it. Once you expose it, you weaken it. You must understand, not everything holy must be public. God treasures secrecy, because that is where authenticity grows. When you pray in silence, He rewards you openly. When you walk in obedience, He honors you privately. But if you turn your intimacy into performance, you have traded the divine for the temporary. Many people lose their spiritual authority because they cannot stop talking about what they are doing for God. Remember this? Real power doesn't need to announce itself. Light does not make noise, yet darkness flees from it. The strongest believers are often the quietest ones. They don't talk about how often they pray. They simply carry the peace that proves they do. The second thing God said never to share is your future plans. There is danger in revealing too much too soon. Not everyone will rejoice at the vision God has placed in your heart. Some will envy it. Some will resist it. Some will attempt to destroy it. Your vision is like a seed. When planted, it must stay buried to grow. If you dig it up too early to show people, it will die in your hands. God operates in seasons. What He shows you in private is meant to be prepared in silence before it is revealed in glory. When you speak before time, you abort the process. When you talk too much about where you are going, you give your enemies a map to follow you. Many people are fighting battles that were never meant for them, simply because they could not control their tongue. They exposed their next move, and the enemy used it against them. God may have told you to start a business, write a book, build something great. But that does not mean you should tell everyone. Some people cannot handle the light that shines from your destiny. They will misunderstand it, criticize it, or attempt to destroy it. That is why God often hides your preparation season. Silence protects the plan. Wisdom guards the seed. Remember, Joseph's greatest mistake was not dreaming, it was sharing the dream too soon. And because he shared it, his brothers tried to kill him. Your dream must first be tested in silence before it can be celebrated in public. When God gives you an idea, nurture it like a newborn. Feed it quietly. Strengthen it privately. Let your actions speak louder than your words. You do not need to convince anyone about what God told you. Time will prove it. When the right season comes, the same people who doubted you will witness what God was doing in your silence. God is not slow. He is strategic. He is not late. He is preparing you. Learn to stay silent until He says no. Because when God reveals it, no one can stop it. The third thing God said never to share is your weaknesses. Every person has battles they are fighting, temptations they are overcoming, and struggles they are managing. But not everyone needs to know your inner war. Some people will use your weakness as a weapon against you. Others will pretend to comfort you only to gossip about you later. God tells you to confess your struggles only to those who are spiritually mature. Those who can pray for you, not those who will prey on you. Never confuse sympathy with spiritual strength. Some people's advice will lead you further from God, not closer to Him. Protect your soul by guarding your vulnerability. There are people who appear friendly, but they are spiritually unclean. They feed off your pain. They rejoice when you are down. That is why God warns you. Be careful who you talk to when you are weak. In moments of struggle, talk to God first. Cry to Him. Pour your heart out to Him. Because only He can heal without judging, restore without exposing, and strengthen without shaming. The world does not deserve access to your sacred wounds. What you battle privately is what God will use to bless you publicly. Some of the greatest victories are born out of private wars. Your tears in secret will become testimonies in the open. But until God completes the process, stay quiet about your weaknesses. Silence is not denial, it is divine strategy. Let me tell you this, not everyone is anointed to carry your truth. Some will hear your story and twist it. Some will take your weakness and broadcast it. That is why you must build spiritual maturity. The wisdom to discern who can handle what. When you speak to God, your words are safe. When you speak to man, you risk being misunderstood. Learn the difference. God never asked you to share everything. He asked you to trust Him with everything. There is a holy strength in restraint. The wise do not speak out of emotion. They speak out of revelation. The fourth thing God said never to share is your acts of kindness. when you give, when you help, when you bless others, do it quietly. Do it as if no one saw. Because the moment you seek attention for your good works, you lose the spiritual reward. The value of kindness is not in being seen, it is in being sincere. God sees every hidden act. He hears every silent prayer. He remembers every unseen sacrifice. You do not need human validation for divine actions. The applause of people is temporary. The recognition of God is eternal. Some people help others not because they love them, but because they want to appear holy. But God is not impressed by age. He is moved by intention. When you give, give in silence. When you forgive, forgive in your heart. When you help, do not announce it. There is greater power in doing good quietly than in shouting it loudly. The world praises the visible, but God blesses the invisible. What you do in secret carries more spiritual weight than what you display in public. The last thing God said never to share is your personal life, your relationships, your private affairs, your family issues. These are not for public discussion. The more you speak about your private life, the more you invite unnecessary spiritual attacks. God protects those who honor privacy. He hides them under His shadow. The more people know about you, the more they can influence you. Protect your peace by staying mysterious. The less they know, the stronger your spirit stands. The devil does not attack everything. He attacks what he knows. When you expose too much of your personal life, you give him information to use against you. Silence is your shield. Privacy is your fortress. Let your actions reveal your strength, not your words. When people cannot figure you out, they cannot control you. That is divine wisdom. God did not call you to explain yourself to everyone. He called you to walk faithfully, quietly, confidently. There is a sacred beauty in keeping your life hidden in God. When the world sees you silent, they think you are weak. But when God sees you silent, He knows you are wise. You have learned that not every truth needs a voice, not every plan needs an audience, and not every blessing needs an announcement. The greatest souls move quietly, but they move powerfully. When God begins to elevate you, He often begins with silence. He isolates you. He separates you. He closes certain doors, removes certain people, and silences certain voices around you. Why? Because where He is taking you, not everyone can come, and not everyone can be trusted with what He is placing in your spirit. You must understand, when God gives you divine instruction, it is not for public debate. It is for private obedience. Some people miss their blessings because they expose their preparation too early. They share divine secrets with people who do not carry divine discernment. God's whispers are not for every ear. When He speaks to you, it is sacred. Handle it with reverence. The silence of God is never empty. It is full of meaning. It is His way of saying, I am working. You may not see movement, but something is shifting in the unseen realm. And when He asks you to stay quiet about certain things, it is because He is aligning what your eyes cannot yet behold. You must trust His timing more than your desire to be understood. There are blessings that grow best in obscurity. God hides the roots before He reveals the fruit. He buries greatness before He brings it to light. If you cannot embrace hidden seasons, you will never walk in revealed power. The greatest manifestations come after the longest silences. There are those who cannot understand your silence, who think your quietness means you are lost or uncertain. But God is saying, be still. Let me prove what you cannot explain. Silence is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of divine preparation. God works most powerfully when you stop trying to explain yourself to people. Let them think what they want. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be obedient. When God tells you not to share something, it is not because He wants you to hide. It is because He wants to protect. When you obey that divine restraint, you are not being secretive, you are being strategic. Silence is spiritual armor. There are battles you win simply by refusing to speak. Words can open portals, silence can close them. Every time you share something sacred with someone unprepared, you risk contamination. People carry spiritual atmospheres, and when they speak into your plans with disbelief, jealousy, or doubt, they release energy that can delay what God is doing. That is why sometimes after sharing a good thing, you suddenly feel discouraged or drained. It is not a coincidence. It is a spiritual reaction. Not every listener is a supporter. Some are silent saboteurs. My beloved, do not let curiosity destroy your covering. The human heart loves to talk. We feel the need to express, to be understood, to be validated. But those who walk deeply with God understand that silence is a form of worship. It says, God, I trust you more than I trust my tongue. When you hold back your words, you are holding on to faith. You are saying, I do not need to explain what you are doing because you will reveal it in your time. When you stop seeking approval from others, you open yourself to divine favor from God. The world celebrates exposure, but God celebrates discretion. In a generation where everyone wants to be seen, God still blesses those who hide themselves in His shadow. When you stop trying to make people understand what only God can reveal, you begin to live above the noise of this world. Some of you are frustrated because you've been misunderstood, betrayed, or mocked after opening your heart. But hear this truth: what you shared with men, you should have kept for God. He never misuses what you give Him. He never gossips, never mocks, never turns away. When you tell God your pain, He heals. When you tell people your pain, they judge. That is why He said, bring your burdens to me, not to them. When God asks you not to share something, it is an invitation to intimacy. He is saying, I want you to trust me more than you trust the world. He hides certain things from people so that your dependence will rest fully on Him. If everyone understood you, you would never seek His voice. If everyone agreed with you, you would never need His guidance. So when God isolates you, He is not punishing you. He is protecting your purpose. The quiet seasons are divine classrooms where God teaches you lessons that crowds cannot hear. What He tells you in secret becomes the foundation of your authority later. You see, silence builds spiritual strength. It trains your spirit to discern. When you don't rush to speak, you allow wisdom to form. When you don't rush to prove, you allow God to move. Many people destroy their miracles because they speak in haste. They explain what they should have prayed about. They announce what they should have nurtured quietly. And in doing so, they lose what was meant to grow. But those who master the art of silence move with power. They do not need to talk about what God is doing. They carry it in their presence. There is a deep truth here. God does not reveal His mysteries to talkers. He reveals them to listeners. The more you talk, the less you hear. But when you quiet your spirit, you begin to perceive divine signals. You begin to sense direction, timing, and divine instruction. Silence is not emptiness. It is spiritual tuning. It aligns your heart with the frequency of God. You cannot receive revelation while you are broadcasting your thoughts to everyone. You must first empty yourself of noise before God fills you with wisdom. Every great destiny has a secret place attached to it. Every person God uses greatly has learned to stay hidden until He says, "No, look around you." The strongest trees grow silently. The sun rises without shouting. The ocean moves with calm power. The greatest forces in creation do not need noise to prove their might. So why should you? Be still. Let your peace speak. Let your results announce what your mouth does not. When the time comes, the world will see what God has been building in silence. You must also remember that some silence is not just for protection. It is for preservation. There are blessings that are too sacred to be discussed. When God blesses you, be careful how you talk about it. Some people will pretend to rejoice, but inside, envy will burn. Not every blessing must be shared. Some are meant to be cherished privately between you and God. When He gives you peace after a storm, thank Him quietly. When He heals your heart, praise Him silently. When He promotes you, be humble. Because the more you talk about your elevation, the more attention you attract from forces that do not wish you well. Humility is the key to keeping favor. You are not meant to advertise everything God does. He did not bless you to boast. He blessed you to glorify Him in spirit and truth. And true glorification often happens in secret. You can honor God without revealing the details of how He blessed you. People do not need to know every miracle. God does. The reward of silence is sustained favor. The more you protect what He gives, the longer it lasts. The moment you expose it for validation, you weaken its power. And sometimes God tells you not to share because He is still shaping the blessing. What you think is finished may still be under construction. If you expose a building too early, it cannot withstand the weight of the world's opinions. But if you let God finish His work in you, when it is time, you will stand unshaken. Silence gives God room to complete what He started. Talking too soon invites interference. Listen, there are dimensions of wisdom that only silence can unlock. When you stop explaining yourself, you begin to understand yourself. When you stop announcing, you begin to receive revelation. And when you stop defending your destiny, you allow God to fight for it. There is power in restraint. There is majesty in mystery. The more you allow God to conceal you, the greater your unveiling will be. Do not despise being hidden. That is where giants are made. That is where true faith is formed. When no one knows your story, but you still remain faithful, God takes note. When you choose not to speak even when you could, God writes it down as obedience. Silence is a sacrifice few understand, but heaven honors it deeply. Every time you hold back from oversharing, you are saying to God, I trust your process more than my emotions. The people of shallow faith need to be seen. The people of deep faith need only to be known by God. The deeper your connection with God grows, the quieter your spirit becomes, because you no longer seek applause. You seek alignment. You no longer need validation. You need revelation. You no longer desire to be understood. You desire to be directed. That is spiritual maturity. And that maturity begins when you learn to keep what God said in your heart and not on your lips. You see, every secret instruction God gives you is a test of trust. He is asking, can I trust you with divine information without you seeking human confirmation? Those who pass this test rise to levels only dream of, because God cannot entrust his next instruction to someone who cannot keep the first one quiet. If you speak prematurely, you prove you are not ready for the next level. God shares his mysteries with those who can hold them. Silence is not emptiness. It is evidence that you are ready for responsibility. And when the day comes that God decides to reveal what he has been doing in your life, no power, no person, no opposition can stop it. Because what is born in silence is sustained by God himself. He will make your fruit so visible that those who once mocked you will have no choice but to honor what he has done. So keep your silence sacred. Guard your plans, protect your intimacy, preserve your peace. When God says, do not share this, he is not withholding, he is safeguarding your future. My beloved, let these words settle deep into your heart. God's instruction to stay silent is not a punishment, it is a promotion in disguise. When God tells you not to share, it is because he is entrusting you with something too powerful to be handled carelessly. It means he has chosen you to carry mysteries, to protect divine wisdom, to be a guardian of sacred things that cannot be exposed to the unprepared. Silence in obedience is not emptiness, it is maturity. It is your spirit saying, God, I value what you've given me more than I desire to be understood. There comes a moment in every believer's life when the test of faith is not in doing, but in saying nothing, in waiting quietly while God works, in resisting the temptation to explain what only time can reveal. That is where true strength is forged, not in the noise of activity, but in the discipline of trust. When you learn to let God finish his work in the hidden places of your life, you become unstoppable. What grows in the soil of silence cannot be uprooted by the storm of words. You must understand silence is not weakness, it is spiritual strategy. It is the language of those who walk with God in secret. The more deeply you walk with him, the more you realize that divine power moves in stillness. The ocean does not announce its depth, yet it commands awe. The wind does not shout, yet it moves mountains. So it is with the soul that lives under divine restraint. The quiet one who knows when to speak and when to stay silent walks with authority that cannot be explained, only felt. There are blessings in your life that will only survive if you protect them with silence. There are dreams that will only grow if you water them privately. There are wounds that will only heal if you keep them between you and God. And there are miracles that will only manifest if you stop explaining them and start expecting them. The moment you trust God enough to close your mouth, you open the heavens over your destiny. God cannot move freely in the life of someone who keeps leaking his plans. But the one who learns to hold his peace becomes a vessel God can trust with greater things. When God hides you, it is because he is shaping you. When he silences you, it is because he is strengthening you. Every hidden season is holy ground. It is where God refines your motives, purifies your desires, and deepens your discernment. You may feel overlooked, but you are being observed by heaven. You may feel forgotten, but you are being prepared. God never wastes a hidden season. He is teaching you how to keep what others lose, how to treasure what others take lightly. Do not rush out of your quiet place. Stay there until God says, now. Because when that moment comes, everything you hid in silence will speak for you. Your growth will speak. Your peace will speak. Your progress will speak. God will make your results so visible that no amount of noise from your enemies will be able to silence what he has revealed. You will not need to prove anything. Your fruit will prove everything. That is the power of divine timing. You must train your heart to be still, because in stillness you will hear direction. In stillness you will sense correction. In stillness you will receive revelation. The one who always speaks misses the whisper of God, but the one who waits quietly hears secrets no crowd will ever hear. That is why silence is sacred. It tunes you to the frequency of heaven. When your heart becomes quiet, you start hearing the soft voice of God saying, do not fear, I am with you, I am working. And remember, God does not owe explanations, he gives instructions. Your responsibility is not to understand everything, but to obey completely. If he said, do not share this, then trust that his protection lies within that command. You may not see the danger he is shielding you from, but one day you will look back and realize his silence saved you. His restraint preserved you. His instruction secured what your words might have destroyed. So walk in quiet strength. Let your peace become your testimony. Let your silence become your statement of faith. In a world obsessed with exposure, choose the path of sacred concealment. Let others seek attention. You seek alignment. Let others chase validation. You chase revelation. You are not ordinary, you are chosen. And those chosen by God must walk differently, speak differently, and sometimes not speak at all. Never forget, the power of God flows through the humble, not the loud. It manifests through the hidden, not the exposed. Every great destiny begins in silence, grows in obscurity, and is revealed in divine timing. When the world finally sees what God was doing in your hidden season, they will be astonished. They will say, how did this happen? And you will simply smile, because you know the secret was silence, and the silence was obedience. So guard your tongue, for it is the gate of your destiny. Guard your plans, for they are seeds of your future. Guard your spiritual life, for it is the source of your power. Guard your kindness, for it carries eternal reward. Guard your privacy, for it is the fortress of your peace. Speak when God says speak, and stay silent when God says be still. Because when you align your tongue with His wisdom, nothing in this world can steal what He has appointed for you. When you master the art of holy silence, you master the flow of divine favor. You will move quietly, but powerfully. You will live privately, but prosper openly. You will speak less, but your life will preach louder than words. Because God Himself will make your silence echo across generations as testimony that obedience is greater than expression. Keep this truth in your heart. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of God. And when God fills your silence, He fills your life with peace that no one can disturb, wisdom that no one can imitate, and favor that no one can explain. So walk quietly, move wisely, guard sacredly, and let your silence speak of a soul fully surrendered to the voice of God. For those who can stay silent when God says, do not share, will one day speak when God says, now declare. And when they do, their words will shake the world.